So for a long time, my favorite Instax camera has been the Instax Square. And the reason for that is because the film is large enough that the images feel significant. However, the camera bodies aren't huge like the Instax wide cameras. However, recently I've been shooting a lot of the Instax Mini film and I'm really enjoying the aspect ratio. So in this video, I thought I'd compare two of the most popular or two of the potentially best Instax Mini cameras, the Instax Mini 90 versus the Instax Mini LiPlay. So we're in Leeds. Feels like it's about to start raining, so we better get indoors somewhere. Let's do a comparison and see which one of the two is the better option. Okay, so let's quickly run through some of the specifications between both of these cameras, starting off with the Instax Mini 90. So this is a proper medium format film camera, meaning that it will expose directly onto the film, similar to many other Instax cameras. And when you switch it on, the lens will start sticking out and then you can start shooting with the shutter button on the front or the shutter button on the side top over here as well. So from a design standpoint, this is probably one of the best designed Instax cameras because it feels like Fujifilm have really thought this through. Shutter button here, shutter button there, so you can shoot in both orientations, portrait and landscape. I love that. Ergonomics wise, this is really good as well. You've got a little bit of a grip over here, so your thumb or the palm or the inner palm of your hand can rest there too. I just feel like the design in this camera has been properly well thought out. On the back of the camera, you've got two screens. One screen will tell you how many shots you got left and the other screen will just tell you what function mode you're currently in. So you've got the timer feature, the macro feature, the light and dark, and you've also got the ability to switch the flash off, which I really like because the flash in this camera, it's direct flash, on camera flash, and it's not that great. Personally, in my opinion, I feel like it leaves images looking a little bit washed out and I'm not a fan, but you can switch the flash off and you can use ambient light or whatever other kind of light source you want to use to be able to control the kind of images that you're producing. So from a design and specification standpoint, this camera is relatively bare bones in comparison to the Instax Mini LiPlay. However, I love the way that this camera has been built. The LiPlay, on the other hand, is a digital camera. So this is using a tiny digital camera sensor and then it prints onto the film. Now, some of you may not like that because, in all honesty, the film does have a certain look to it. However, the LiPlay does come with a lot of conveniences. For instance, the screen. There's a big screen on the back of the camera which you can use as a viewfinder as well. So you're not having to kind of cram it towards your face, and if you're using, if you wear glasses, then the optical viewfinder on this camera, it's not that comfortable. This one, you've got a screen on the back of the camera, and I think with the advent of smartphones and so on, a lot of people are used to shooting on the back of the screen anyway. Other thing is you've got a number of, or a wider range of features. So when you switch it on, the lens doesn't protrude outwards, so it remains in its compact form factor, but also you've got like filters and overlays and so on, which could be useful for some people. And then you've got this microphone in the front as well, so if you want to record a bit of audio to go along with your picture, you can do that too. The biggest convenience about this camera is the fact that you can put an SD card, a micro SD card in it, and then instead of shooting and printing immediately, you can just go around, take a whole bunch of pictures, edit on the back of the camera, and then when you're ready, you can then print them. So it does prevent a lot of waste. You've got far more control over your images. And to be fair, Instax film is expensive. So if you can prevent that waste, it's going to end up potentially costing you less money. And on that basis, this could be a great option. However, we're going to take a number of pictures now with both cameras, and we're going to put these images side by side so you can decide which one looks the best for you, because I think for most people, it does come down to the results. So let's test the results between both of these systems. Okay, so we've taken a number of pictures with both cameras, and there are a few things that I'm noticing between the two. First thing is the viewfinder. The optical viewfinder in the Instax Mini 90 is such a pain to shoot with. It's tiny, it feels cramped, and it's really difficult to compose your shot correctly and properly with it. It's just such a pain to shoot with, and I really don't enjoy it. This has been common across the board with pretty much every Instax camera that I've shot with. The viewfinders is just too small. The LiPlay, however, far more comfortable to shoot with. The screen, you've got a large screen on the back, so you can see your shot properly and you can compose far more effectively. Once again, fewer chances of failure with this camera than you do with the Instax Mini 90. The only downside to the screen is that the screen is pretty poor in quality. Like, it's not a great looking screen, and I mean, fair enough, the camera's not that expensive, but still, screen's pretty poor looking. However, the autofocus in this camera is extremely useful. Almost every picture that I'm printing with the LiPlay is turning out to be sharp, crisp. The colors actually look nice in the prints, and honestly, I'm surprised at how good the results are from this camera. I'm genuinely surprised. The Instax Mini 90, you know, obviously very typical in terms of the kind of camera it is. It's an Instax film camera, so obviously the results are going to be very, very familiar in that regard. Focusing, basically it's based on distance. It doesn't have any kind of autofocus or anything, so you do have to work your distance between you and the subject in order to try and get the focus right. But in most cases, the images tend to be a little bit out of focus, and it's kind of part of the charm, but some people may not like that. But if you do want something which is going to look sharper, has really nice colors, honestly, I'm quite surprised with the results so far, just looking at them side by side. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take all the images that we've taken into Lightroom, we're going to put them side by side, we're going to have a look at them essentially under a microscope, and hopefully that can help you decide on which one is the best one for you. So here we have the images opened up in Lightroom now, and this first image that we're looking at over here on the left, this was taken on the Instax Mini Li. Image on the right was taken on the Instax Mini 90, and there are some clear differences in performance between both cameras. First of all, colors. The Instax Mini Li is actually more accurate in comparison to the Instax Mini 90. The Mini 90 leans a little bit into the magentas and the warmer tones, which is quite pleasing in many respects. However, if you want something which is a little bit more true to life, the Instax Mini Li does a better job, especially when it comes to the jumper, the colors of the building, and just the overall scene. Also, the Li is much sharper. Both of these were shot from the same distance, and you can see that the Mini 90 did manage to catch focus there. So it wasn't exactly out of focus, it was in focus there, but wherever you look, it's quite mushy, the image is quite soft. There isn't a great deal of detail, whereas the LiPlay, you can actually pick out detail in the jumper that Mohammed was wearing. That's not really possible in the Instax Mini 90. Yes, the Mini 90 does have a slightly wider field of view in comparison to the Instax Mini Li, and that's not an advantage or a disadvantage. It just comes down to what you prefer. If you want more in the scene, the Instax Mini 90 will do a better job in that regard. However, if you want to get closer to your subject, the Instax Mini Li is going to do a better job in that regard. So completely down to preferences. Field of view is slightly different. However, the biggest major differences between these two is the fact that the Instax Mini Li is much sharper, picks up a lot more detail, and the colors are more accurate as well. So I'm really impressed. I mean, honestly, really impressed with how well the LiPlay performs and the images that it produces. Moving on to the next comparison here, we took a picture of that drummer, and once again, the LiPlay is much sharper, picks out more detail, and the colors are more accurate too. However, there is a certain aesthetic or a kind of look that the Mini 90 has, which I think is still really appealing. If you zoom in, this seems a little harsh, like it's a lot of sharpening is being applied, and you know, in some respects that's a good thing because the details are much crisper on the actual film. However, the Mini 90 just feels a little bit smoother. It just feels a little bit more organic, and obviously it's going to feel more organic because it is an actual true film camera. So I do like the results coming from the Mini 90 as well. For this third comparison, I decided to shoot something that's not going to move, so we don't have any motion blur, and the results are still very similar. Colors are different, and I do like the colors on the Instax Mini 90. However, the detail and clarity in the Instax Mini LiPlay is just far superior in comparison to the Mini 90. Even when you look at the text in the back over here, you can actually somewhat make it out, whereas in the Mini 90 it's just completely mushed. Now that could be the depth of field. However, wherever you look, even where the camera is supposed to be in focus, the Instax Mini 90 does a much better job. You can see details in the statues, but that's not really something you can do on the Instax Mini 90. Now this may not be a major problem because the film format is actually quite small, so you're not going to see these images up close, and for a lot of people that's not going to be a major issue. However, even from a distance, the Mini LiPlay does look much sharper. And finally, I decided to take some pictures in a more controlled scenario. So I'm using continuous lighting, the same light source for both of these cameras. And in that scenario, you can see that there is a difference in colors. The white balance is clearly different. The Mini LiPlay is much colder. However, some could describe it as being more accurate because it is, whereas the Mini 90 is a lot warmer. And although it may not be accurate to the scene, it does look quite nice. So it does come down to preference. Personally, I'm really enjoying the look of the Instax Mini LiPlay. However, I like the colors, the warm tone in the Instax Mini 90. So I think a mix between the two would have been a perfect balance. Now, normally when it comes to Instax cameras, I generally prefer the proper film cameras as opposed to the digital variants. However, in this comparison, I'm so impressed by the Instax Mini LiPlay that I'm gonna recommend that over the Mini 90. It produces sharper looking images, better color, and just better results overall. It is a much better camera in comparison to the Mini 90. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Mini 90 is probably, in fact, it's definitely the best proper film mini camera that Fujifilm has produced. I mean, it's head and shoulders better than the Instax Mini 40 and any other Instax Mini camera that Fuji has produced. It's the design of it, the features, the controls, everything about it has been really well thought out, and I love the Instax Mini 90 for that reason. However, the LiPlay it's just in a bit of a different league. It's better in almost every category. Yes, it's not a proper film camera, but it still produces better results. And if you use the app, you've got lots of other features available, such as being able to shoot remotely. And that's a brilliant feature because you can have the camera set somewhere and you can control the Instax Mini LiPlay on your smartphone with live view. So you can actually compose on your phone, control the flash, and have the countdown feature all on your phone without having to touch the camera. That's brilliant. That is really brilliant, and it's all seamless, and the app works really well. In my experience so far, the app has worked extremely well. And one of the other most useful features of the Mini LiPlay and the app is the fact that you can print images that are stored on your phone. So if you've taken a picture with your phone, or even a picture that you've taken with a more expensive camera and you've transported it onto your phone, or transferred, I should say, transferred onto your phone, you can print it on the LiPlay, and that I think is brilliant. Basically, it means that the Instax Mini LiPlay is not just a camera, it's a printer, and it's one of the best cameras currently available from Fujifilm. I'm so impressed by it, I really am. Yeah, I mean, between the two, definitely recommend the Mini LiPlay. The downside of the LiPlay is the fact that you don't have a lot of controls on the actual body. Like, you can't control the flash on the body, so you do need to use the app in order to do that. As far as I can tell, like, I couldn't find any flash controls or any of the timer controls on the actual camera. So you are kind of tethered to the app. And the other issue, or maybe not the issue, is it's not an issue, it's more of I say feature, but I wasn't impressed by it, and that's the audio recording feature. I don't really like that because the microphone on the LiPlay is pretty poor, like really poor, and the results are pretty bad. I mean, I thought that I was going to demonstrate the feature in this video, but honestly, it's so bad I don't even want to demonstrate it. And also the QR code takes up a big chunk of the film. I mean, the film isn't that big, but QR code still takes quite a big chunk of it. So yeah, the audio feature is a bit of a gimmick. I wouldn't use it. Aside that, the LiPlay is definitely the best Instax mini camera that I've ever shot with, and I think I've shot with all of them. So yeah, really impressed by it, highly recommend it. This is definitely my choice between all of them. And yeah, I mean, it's a digital camera. I'm surprised. Normally I would always, I mean, I've got a bit of a bias in favor of the proper film cameras, but yeah. Anyway, just want to say thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, hit the like button, please subscribe, share this video, and hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you.